Hi everyone. This is a supposed refutation of the Dutch defence, which was this is created by Nathan Gittens as a chess-based file for my birthday actually, and it's a very interesting article which he says I can do a video on, and I'll be presenting this information in the file as a video for all you viewers to see, and I hope you take something from it. Now, as we know, we have the Dutch defence which goes d4, f5, and there is many ways to play against it, of course, but there is loads of like anti-Dutches, and one of them is 2h3, which is prepared g4 to hijack the light squares which black has weakened with f5, and also to rip open the h file and try and take advantage of the fact that black's weakened his king with 1f5. And after knight f6, you play g4, gambling a pawn, and it seems that black seems to get a decent position with d5. But of course the critical test to the gambit is to take the pawn, and after takes, knight takes, you play the move queen d3, and as Nathan writes, black counters the first tactical minefield, because there's quite a few cheapos here as well. I mean, first of all, the funny thing is if black, white's threatening to take the h7 pawn, if black retreats the knight to f6 to protect it, this is brutally met by rook takes h7. Double exclamation mark, where if the rook's taken in either way, queen g6 is mate, and you have to stop the mate, and then the h8 rook falls. And it says that 9 games in chess base, which black's resigned after, with just as many games where black's spitefully played on a few moves before finally throwing in the towel, and there was even one game where one brave black player actually won after 46 moves. Another embarrassing trap is, say black plays an actual move like d5, then this is brutally met by rook takes h7, rook takes, check. Rather than taking the rook first, you do this check to stop the king from castling, and then you take it. And white's won the pawn back with a massive compensation and a massive attack, and even a 2175 has fallen into this, but according to the article, the strong, resourceful player managed to turn the tables and win after 52 moves. Another little mini trap is if the knight goes back to h6, then white takes it, and after g takes h6 you play queen f5, and the only way to stop accumulating king wonder is rook g8, which is a rather awful looking move. So the only real test of the Korchnoi attack is g6, but now here comes an absolutely incredible shot. You won't believe this move at all. You just play rook takes h7 anyway, which is actually it's actually quite sound this, in fact it's very sound, and white will be having all the fun, as you're going to see. So let's have a quick overview on it, according to the, this amazing article. It says, if I'll read through it to you, but white still plays it anyway. It is not often that a player can make an exchange sacrifice in the opening and get away with it being sound. We will soon see how the cocky little metal machine Houdini's verdict of this maverick sacrifices goes down from plus 1.01 to black to equal or advantageous to white. Indeed, we shall soon see how white ties down black's army in a race to defend f7. However, white should win every time, or else will get large compensation for the exchange sacrifice. As black places his army in an awkward manner to defend f7, white's fly out harmoniously and to great effect. The knight on g1 is a ticking time bomb as it prepares to come to e5 or g5. Alas, if it reaches its destination, the smoke will clear and white will be a pawn up for the good. So he takes, which is described as a box move, i.e. a box move is an only move, and we've had jokes about this at club. And after queen takes g6, rook f7 box, queen takes g4 box. And now black has several moves here. I mean, white's going to play queen h5, pin the rook to king, and then try and play knight f3 to g5 or e5, and then white will basically be a pawn out of a crushing position. So black has to stop this, usually by bishop d7, g7 to f6. So let's look at the moves. So he says, we reach our second and rather very large battlefield. Now here we reach a fork in the road, a huge delta of possibilities for black. Black's main responses in the main line, if you like, are d6, d5 with queen h5. What shall I do but the rook can f7 before a knight gets to e5 or g5? How shall I defend f7 and what with? Even computers seem to hesitate and keep changing their minds in the myriad of complications. It will probably be best to look at every single sensible move Black has at his disposal as this game was probably received a wide reception in the chess community, and as White is down the exchange, he cannot afford to throw away his initiative. Usually we'll see a gigantic lead development for White as Black shows up his shaky foundations. White usually sacrifices a pawn for development, but never does he sacrifice the exchange, so d5 seems to be a critical test. And also knight c6, where if White blunders with d5, then knight e5 is strong, but after something like knight f3, d5, queen h5, queen d7, knight g5, and this continuation, and White already has Black massively tied down to f7 with massive compensation. Let's go back to move 8. If c5, this is trying to threaten a bit of disruption with queen check and a5, then White's knight just begins its journey. And after queen a5 check, bishop d2, queen b6, and then knight g5, and if Black's greedy, then you've got this continuation. Ouch, this is rather catastrophic. And Black's army is in tatters and his king's all the way out here. There's a back to game, all the opening moves. So queen g6, knight c3 and knight a6, and White's chances are probably slightly better here, although it's rather unclear and messy. Go back to move 8 with a large delta of possibilities. If say e6, then after this, say this continuation, and Black's really bad development is going to give him a tough game, and White's got a very strong position here, and just like bring his knight out castle along and try and hack Black up, and Black's just really tied down. Notice if king f8, by the way, queen h8 is mate, funnily enough. Now Black can also play bishop g7, where Black's preparing to cover the e5 and g5 squares via bishop f6 to get rid of the squares for troublesome knight, which should win the rook. However, this isn't too brilliant, because after knight f3, d5, knight this continuation. Of course, there are more possibilities. This is just like a bit of an outline, this article that I'm doing a video on. Maybe you could do some independent learning to get a better overview. And after castles, according to Nathan, Black's in trouble already because the d5 pawn's going to be bullied off the board. It's probably going to become an IQP, and we like bullying IQPs. And now here come the two critical test moves, which are d6 and d5, winning the tempo on the queen while advancing the centre pawn. So d6, this may be more modest than d5, but the pawn isn't as vulnerable, and now e5 is out of bounds for knight. So now queen h5, paralysing the rook. Bishop g7, by the way, is too slow in this position. After knight f3, bishop f6 and e4, and Black's already in trouble. And knight d7 looks interesting, but this continuation doesn't look too great. We go back. e6, knight f3, queen f6, bishop e3, get rid of any counter playing against f2. I know. And now I have to say this continuation. Ouch, the rook's falling. And Black's just a pawn down for nothing. This shows that if the rook falls, then White's going to be a pawn up for nothing, so Black has to really stop the knight from coming in. So let's go back to critical test, which is 8 d5. So queen h5, and he says, indeed the poor crippled rook on f7 seems to spend most of its life here before it is finally put out of the misery by a bounding slash from the steadfast knight. It's brilliant writing style, this you gotta admit. So he played bishop g7 box, well almost box, to stop the knight coming in. Say if queen d6, knight f3, this continuation, or what else is there? Knight d7. This just is just going to drop the exchange, this. And whenever it wants, the exchange is going to be White's. So bishop g7 exclamation mark was played, and after knight f3, bishop f6, which stops the knight coming in. And now you play knight c3, continuing the theme of rapid development. bringing more pieces into the game and trying to bully the d5 pawn off the board, which is a target. And if you try and solidify it with e6, then this locks the bishop in, and now comes all sorts of unpleasant moves like knight g5. It's very unpleasant. So bishop e6, and after bishop h6, exclamation mark. There is even now the tactical minefield's getting bigger now, and black still has to be very careful. And just think, black will be stunned by rook takes h7, and will probably be almost being time pressured by now, trying to find the best moves. White's position is so much easier to play. So c5. And now, after this continuation, black's got rid of this awful knight, but white's got a very dangerous bishop pair, and black's king's looking very drafty. I say after this, this is much better for white, this. So c5 isn't to be recommended. Instead, queen d6 is best, and after castles, continuing the theme of rapid development. If black can blunder, another trap is knight c6, where e4 and black can't prevent being forks next turn. So knight d7, he has to come to d7. After e3, black is finally castled, but now comes bishop f4. And after queen moves, the d5 pawn falls, and after takes, we have the final position of the analysis. And here Nathan writes, equilibrium in the table has been restored. However, it is clear that white is having all the fun, and so we have it, the Korchnoi attack. An anti-Dutch duel will make black wish he had never prodded his f-pawn 2 squares in the first place. Indeed, this sacrifice is dubious looking, but is actually rather brilliant, tearing black's light squares apart. And then, as we have seen, the killer blow comes on the dark squares. When black has such a large choice of moves to choose from, you can be assured that black will not choose the correct one every time, whereas white only needs to develop and make rather ordinary moves to retain the initiative. A gambit that is definitely recommended to try against black next time you play against the Dutch, and perhaps will provide a nice, delicious little miniature from or more in your game collection, written by Nathan Gittens. It's a very impressive article, this. Also, I'll add some points to it. I've noticed a lot when playing as white in the Dutch that when you play the mainlands like Finn win on g2 and all that, you don't seem to get a very exciting game as white. Like, you might win on the queen side eventually, or because of black's terrible bishop, but you do get hacked quite a lot. And I'd rather play an anti-Dutch, to be honest. So say these days, say if they went d4, e6, I'd probably go e4 and rather play against the French, to be honest. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this article that I've translated into a video, and I hope you have fun playing in your games as well. And please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.